For months, a ruthless and highly organized criminal gang terrorized the rural towns of Ireland's border counties. Their modus operandi: bold and brazen ATM heists, executed with surgical precision using stolen heavy machinery to rip cash machines from the walls of banks and businesses. Between December 2018 and August 2019, these criminals, known infamously as the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang, made off with nearly €800,000, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. They were not just thieves. They were a calculated organization that prided itself on meticulous planning and execution, turning small-town banks into their personal playgrounds. Their methods were simple, but their execution was nothing short of daring. Each heist unfolded with precision and speed, leaving authorities scrambling to catch up. By the time the dust had settled, the gang had struck at least 6 times across 3 counties, Cavan, Meath, and Monaghan, causing fear and unease throughout the region. Their reign of terror would last nearly a year. Towns that once felt safe were now plagued by a palpable tension, with residents fearful of the next strike and local businesses bracing for impact. Their first target was a small town in County Cavan. In the dead of night, they struck with military-like coordination, ripping an ATM from the front of a bank with a stolen digger. The machines weren't just steel boxes. They contained the wages, savings, and livelihoods of local residents. The ease with which they carried out the first raid emboldened the gang. What began as a quick and lucrative job soon evolved into a full-fledged criminal enterprise. As each successful job passed, the gang's notoriety grew, attracting attention from local law enforcement and instilling fear in the hearts of everyday citizens. With their success in Cavan, the gang's confidence grew. They hit more targets in rapid succession, moving across the border counties of Ireland. It wasn't long before guards realized they were dealing with something far bigger than just random acts of vandalism. The gang was evolving into a well-oiled machine, and their operations were becoming increasingly sophisticated. The audacity of the crimes, the use of stolen 30-ton diggers, and the precision of their strikes set them apart from other criminals. They weren't opportunists. They were professionals. The gang scouted each location, studying the layout of the town, the location of Garda stations, and the response times of local officers. The rural banks were vulnerable, and the gang knew exactly how to exploit these weaknesses. They created a blueprint for their criminal operations, perfecting every detail from the timing of the heists to the escape routes. And as their methods became more daring, the community's trust in their safety waned. As the months went on, the gang's raids became more frequent and more audacious. They struck multiple locations in a single night, such as in Kells, County Meath, where they executed a double heist that stunned even seasoned law enforcement officials. The gang ripped ATM from both the Bank of Ireland and AIB, one after the other, leaving the local community reeling. It was a striking display of their arrogance, a blatant disregard for the law, and the fear they instilled in the community only added to their bravado. According to retired Chief Superintendent John O'Reilly, when we heard about the double heist in Kells, we couldn't believe it. It was shocking to see how fearless they had become. They were hitting multiple banks in a single night and getting away with it. At that point, we knew this was no ordinary gang. It was a sophisticated operation that required planning and execution beyond what we had seen in this area before. The criminals had become bolder, more reckless with each heist, but the increased risks only intensified the pressure on guards to stop them. Yet, despite their growing success, there was a fatal flaw in the gang's plan: their greed. Each time they hit a bank, they wanted more. And as they pushed their operations to the limit, they left behind more clues, more evidence, and more mistakes for law enforcement to capitalize on. The mounting series of raids had local communities on edge and law enforcement in overdrive. Pressure was coming not just from the local authorities, but from the highest levels of government. Financial institutions were outraged, and the public demanded swift action. Behind the scenes, The Department of Justice coordinated with guards, providing additional resources to combat the growing threat. The stakes were high. Failure was not an option. Phone surveillance and intelligence reports soon pointed to two primary suspects, brothers Gerard and Ciaran Duffy. They had been under watch for some time, but their involvement in the double heist in Kells brought them into sharper focus. With mounting evidence and growing frustration over the gang's ability to evade capture, guards laid out an ambitious plan to finally catch the gang in the act. Officers began to lay traps, monitoring their movements closely, waiting for the right moment to strike. For the gang, this night was supposed to be like any other, a quick, decisive heist that would add more cash to their coffers. They arrived in Virginia with the same confidence they had carried into each raid before, but this time was different. Guards had been waiting for them. Their meticulous planning would soon turn against them. As they set the massive digger into motion, poised to tear the ATM from the hotel's exterior, armed guards units moved into position. This was no ordinary operation. It was the result of months of planning, surveillance, and intelligence gathering. The gang had no idea they were walking into a trap. They had grown overconfident, lulled into a false sense of security by their past successes. For the first time, the gang found themselves cornered. Gerard Duffy was arrested on the spot, while his brother Ciaran was captured hours later, hiding in a nearby toilet. But Daniel O'Callaghan, the group's mastermind, managed to escape into the night, slipping through the fingers of law enforcement yet again. O'Callaghan may have evaded capture that night, but he left behind crucial evidence. DNA collected from a nearby sauna would soon link him to the attempted robbery and ultimately lead to his conviction. For the hole-in-the-wall gang, the walls were beginning to close in, and their days of freedom were numbered. In the wake of the failed heist in Virginia, law enforcement ramped up their efforts. The investigation took on new urgency as guards pieced together the intricate puzzle that was the hole-in-the-wall gang. They recovered documents from a property linked to the gang in Tullypole, County Meath, that revealed crucial details about their operations. With each piece of evidence, the case against O'Callaghan and his crew grew stronger. Officers uncovered more than just plans for future heists. They found documentation that hinted at the gang's next targets. The files contained maps, bank layouts, and even detailed notes about their potential heists. They had thought of everything, but they hadn't considered the relentless determination of law enforcement. The more the police dug, the more incriminating evidence surfaced, bringing them closer to bringing the gang to justice. In a landmark trial, the gang faced a litany of charges related to their ATM heists, with Daniel O'Callaghan at the center of it all. Despite overwhelming evidence, O'Callaghan maintained his innocence, refusing to admit his role in the operation. But the court had seen enough. With eyewitness testimony from surveillance officers and damning DNA evidence, O'Callaghan was convicted on all counts. The judge presiding over the case stated that O'Callaghan had played a central role in the planning and execution of the gang's criminal activities. The sheer scale of their operations was staggering. In the end, O'Callaghan was sentenced to 10 years in prison. His partners in crime, the Duffy brothers, received nearly 8 years each, while lesser members of the gang, including Niall Finnegan, were given lighter sentences. The judge emphasized the calculated and brazen nature of their crimes, as well as the psychological impact on the local communities. Justice had finally caught up with the hole-in-the-wall gang. The story of the hole-in-the-wall gang is a testament to the thin line between ambition and greed, between cleverness and recklessness. For a time, they lived on the edge, believing themselves untouchable. But as with all criminal enterprises, their downfall was inevitable. The towns they once terrorized have returned to normal, but the scars left behind remain, both in the physical damage caused by their crimes and the psychological toll on the people they affected. The shattered remains of a cash machine are a constant reminder of the fear that gripped the community. For those who suffered through the fear and destruction, the conviction of the hole-in-the-wall gang brought closure, but also a sobering reminder that no town, no matter how small or peaceful, is immune to the reach of greed and criminality. But through the dedication and persistence of law enforcement, justice was served, and the community could finally heal. The gang story serves as a chilling reminder of how quickly ambition can turn into hubris, and how the thrill of crime ultimately leads to inevitable consequences. If you found this video insightful, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe for more true crime content, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe.